Year after year, Google nails it with the A-series Pixels, and really, it's not a hard recommendation to make for mid-tier smartphones. The Pixel 8a is no different, but as the hardware adds missing features year after year, as they've done for many years now, it does create a little bit of a quandary for the Pixel hardware lineup, and I'm going to share my review here next. All right, you gotta give it to Google. They might not make the best decisions all the time when it comes to certain aspects of their business, but they really know how to make a bangin' mid-ranger. And for a number of years and for a number of reasons, which I'm gonna cover here, Google consistently turns out an excellent mid-tier phone in the Pixel A-series devices. But the better the A-series gets with every year, the narrower the gap between it and the next step up, its top tier Pixel lineup devices. And this is actually a problem that Samsung has certainly dealt with in the past. We all expect new iterations of previous hardware to improve upon the last, and respectably, Google has continued to do that with the Pixel 8a, but it kind of makes it even harder to choose the right hardware when you're in the market for a new phone. Google sent me the Pixel 8a for review, so I'm going to share with you my take on this and talk a little bit about that quandary right now. So first of all, let's take a look at the design. And as you can see here, I mean, if you've ever had your hands on a Pixel A-series smartphone by Google, I'd say pretty much year after year, maybe save for the Pixel 5 where things got a little weird. The design is just excellent. It's top-notch. Standard pixel touches, although here you will notice in the 8a a steeper rounding curve on the top. I actually have the Pixel 8 to compare it to, and you can see the Pixel 8, you know, it's not quite as broad of a rounding. It's a little bit more narrower. So, you know, it's a little thing, but it definitely changes the character of the device as well. So something to look at. I actually like the more rounded edges. And from what I understand, this is a sign of things to come in the upcoming 9 series hardware. So this is kind of looking forward to design notes that we're going to see here pretty soon. The camera bar up at the top, premium look and feel. It really does feel very premium. It's got that nice metallic quality to it, a little bit of a matte color. By comparison with the 8, you can see it's a little narrower side by side. It's also a little bit less steep. Let's see if I can get a good shot of that. It's not nearly as deep, and that's definitely a matter of the fact that the cameras on the 8a aren't quite of the same caliber as what you get on the Pixel 8. I'll talk about that in a second, but personally, I didn't find that to be a really big downside. Overall, you know, from a feel standpoint, it really feels very sturdy, even though this backplate is plastic as opposed to the glass that you have on the back of the Pixel 8, which gives this, you know, definitely the 8 has a little bit more of a premium feel to it. The Pixel 8a, a little plasticky on the back, but you know what? It comes with the advantage of the fact that it doesn't really collect those fingerprints nearly as much. And honestly, it seems to work for the aesthetic of the phone, particularly in this color. I don't know what some of the other colors look like, but I don't mind it at all. And the buttons on the side, which are kind of hard to show off here, but they feel really nice. They actually have a premium feel, as well as the metallic frame around the entire device. It just really feels very solid. And when you consider that this is a mid-range device, that's just a nice thing to have. All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the display. So on the display, we've got a 6.1-inch FHD Plus OLED display. Now the Pixel 8 is almost the same. It's a 6.2-inch. So very, very close to being about the same. About the only other difference is that there's a Gorilla Glass 3 on the front of the Pixel 8a. The Pixel 8 has Gorilla Glass Victus, which essentially means they're both going to be very scratch-proof, but the Pixel 8 is going to be more shatter-proof, so definitely don't go dropping the Pixel 8a. Otherwise, the displays are nearly identical. You get up to 120 hertz refresh, 1400 nits of brightness, HDR support, all things good. Now, one difference that people are pointing out, which didn't bug me that much, is when you look at them side by side, you can see on the left, the Pixel 8a has a little bit of those thicker bezels that we've seen in years past, and mid-tier phones definitely happen to have those bezels more often. And I think one thing that has bugged people about the bezels is that they are not symmetrical bezels. Up at the top, it's a little bit thinner and narrower than what you have down at the bottom. If that bugs you, I don't know what to tell you. Honestly, I didn't care very much. All right, so let's talk a little bit about performance here. Now, performance between the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8a are going to be about the same. Why? Because they both have the Tensor G3 chipset inside. So you've got that premium chipset that Google has rolled out, yes, on the mid-tier phone, same as the more upper-end premium phone. Same memory as well. The Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8a both have 8 gigs of memory. So, pretty reasonable point there. I'd love to get that higher, and I'm sure that's the direction that Google's moving in. Storage-wise, you do get 128 gigs of storage. You can also go up to 256 gigs of storage. Same between these both. Are you picking up on a little bit of a pattern here? Performance-wise, I'd say it's equally as good, which is a big feat for a mid-ranger because, often in the mid-range, performance is one of those factors that really falls off the deep end when you compare it to a premium device next to it. And here, you're not really getting that performance trade-off very much at all. And the only reason that you might is because it's got lower memory than, say, the Pixel 8 Pro. So there's that. Now, camera-wise, I think this is a really big key feature as far as why Google continues to be so successful with their A series phone. Now, I love taking pictures with my Pixel 8 Pro. I think the camera system on there is spot on, not to mention how it ties in with the Tensor chip and with all of the AI processing on the back end. And so, remember that this has the Tensor G3 in it. It has a camera system that is at least similar in the sense that it has this, 2 cameras offered here, but they are not spec'd the same. The Pixel 8a does have, a little bit better camera performance, a little bit better on paper, going to do better in low light situations. But I'd say less than you might expect, only because Google has become so good at how they process the imagery on these phones. And so I had no qualms using the camera system on the Pixel 8a. It's also got Ultra HDR. And so when you're looking at pictures and images that have that HDR baked into it, you really get that pop. Easily, this is the part that I enjoyed the most on my camping trip just a few weeks ago. I was taking pictures left, right, and center with this device, and I was always getting exactly what I expected. Now, if I had brought the 8 with me and taken some pictures, maybe I'd see some minor differences there, but I truly don't believe that they would have been so wide and such a big difference between the two that I would have regretted only having the 8A instead. So I give it a big thumbs up. Now, battery-wise, inside here, you have the same battery as the Pixel A. Ding, there it is again, 4,500 milliamp hour battery. You do now get, and this is a really big upgrade for the A series, you now get wireless charging. So when I'm driving around, I can pop this on my wireless charger in the car, and it is charging. But one thing to really note, and you will notice this if you use wireless charging on this device, it is slow. 7.5 watt Qi charging, really slow. Pixel 8 has 12 watts of Qi charging, almost twice as fast. And you get a little bit more than that if you're working with actual Pixel hardware like the Pixel charging stand. So there's that. But when you're talking about the 8A, it's a slow trickle sort of process when you're doing wireless charging. At the same time, I give Google full credit for putting wireless charging into this mid-tier phone because it's nice to have. Might not be necessary, but it's nice to have it as opposed to not having it. Wired, it gets 18 watts, which is still relatively slow. I'd say that's one ding on the 8A, but I charge at night, so really not that big a deal to me. All right, and then there is, of course, the software. People who use Pixel devices happen to love Google's kind of software take on the Pixel UI, which, in some cases has kind of the vanilla approach, but really I think where it really sings and where it really shines is when you get to things like now playing mode and spam protection and circle to search. I can hold down that search button and search anything on the screen, and if I'm connected to the internet, it'll give me some results based on what I just searched, which is really, really helpful. That's the on-device AI that's baked into here that the Tensor chip enables. Also, more features promised from Google I/O just a few weeks ago, things like scam call protection, Gemini AI integration, and a whole lot more. Also, not to mention 7 years of system updates promised by Google. So that's OS, that's security updates, which is, of course, the same as the Pixel 8 and the Pixel 8a update promise. And considering this has the same tensor, the same memory as the 8, that's pretty fantastic. I think longevity-wise, they're probably going to last just as long equally between each other. I think, and I love that commitment. Time will tell how well 7 years goes in practice when you actually have a device that's that old running this hardware and current software. Are you going to want to run that device? Are things going to be slow? We aren't there yet. We don't know, but that is my consideration there. Now, finally, the price, $499. That's the same as the Pixel 7a was priced last year. Prior to that, the 6a was $449. So Google's been kind of creeping this up over time. Now, the Pixel 8 is normally sold for $699. But at least at the time of this recording, it's currently on sale for $549. And considering that Google's going to refresh its hardware, or expected to refresh its hardware, sometime by October, which isn't that many months away, I'm guessing that lower prices on the Pixel 8, the entry Pixel 8, are going to, be around that $549 price point here and there over the coming months. So essentially, getting a little bit better hardware and specs for $50 more than the out-of-the-box brand new Pixel 8a cost. And there we have our quandary, right? With so much the same between the Pixel 8a and the Pixel 8, it's kind of hard to know which one to get or even which one to recommend to you right now. Granted, if the 8, if it's on sale, it gets easier to just pony that up and spend the extra $50 to get the 8 as an upgrade from the 8a. But with the Pixel 8 at $700, it's $200 more. That's kind of a different story. Is it worth it when the 8a does so much? And really, I suppose that's what makes it easier to recommend the 8a, right? Like, this is a lot of phone for $500 if you're in the mid-tier market. Once again, I have to say that the 8a is one of my strongest recommendations for the mid-tier market because you do get so much value for that price point. But I'm a little concerned that Google might be backing itself into a corner as it iterates the A series in the coming years. So what do you think? Are you willing to buy the 8A when the 8 is so close in price? Does it have you waiting for Google's next round of hardware upgrades to see what comes next? I would love to know. Leave a comment below and let me know. I promise to respond. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps me out. Thank you for watching this review of the Pixel 8a here on the Techsploder YouTube channel. We'll see you next time.